Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey, specifically Canada. I'm your co-host Mick. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick, and I'm joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host
Brent on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. It's been a hell of a journey, as the seasons typically go, but here we are, regular season's over, playoffs about to get started. How excited are you, Mick?
Pretty excited, I'll be honest with you. It kind of felt like it was a bit of a lull. We were both kind of discussing, last we talked like 2 weeks ago, we're kind of like, essentially the postseason just kind of seems like the Stanley Cup playoffs are like right there. We didn't have that ambition to finish the season. And oh boy, I'm glad we waited. We almost recorded on Wednesday. We were just going to like predict and project what was going to happen. Man, that 15 minutes Vegas Leafs first round matchup, or a Vegas Oilers first round matchup that we were going to do. I'm kind of glad we waited. And like, I feel like our procrastination like really paid off. Pretty excited to get going, although it kind of feels like surreal. I don't quite believe that it's there. Not until 6 o'clock tonight when I'm sitting on the couch ready to get my heart ripped out of my chest. I think that's when it'll finally start kind of sinking in. So I'm just kind of taking the day. Carpe diem, as they say. Eat a fish every day. It keeps you strong. So that's what I'm going for.
Yes, I share your enthusiasm, but I would not be able to share my enthusiasm without getting some stuff off my chest here. The whole intent of the playoffs and ending, the season used to end on a Sunday, and then playoffs would start midweek.
Yeah.
The last couple years ago, they changed that, and now it's playoffs end midweek, so that regular season ends midweek, so playoffs can start Saturday. Your whole intent of fucking doing this, Gary, was to give us a full schedule of hockey on Saturday, not an afternoon game and one fucking evening game, and then load the Sunday schedule up. Like, what are you doing, man? I just Saturday is the hockey day. Everybody knows Saturday is the hockey day. And here we are on a Saturday with the fucking New York Islanders and Carolina Hurricanes starting a matinee game. Come on, man. Be better, NHL.
It is very late. When I was looking at it, I was kind of, that's probably my discrepancy too, is just the scheduling here is just terrible. What are you going up against? Nothing. I think they backed themselves in a corner, and now basketball's going today. How many basketball games do you think are going right now? Is it 4? I think they're up and running with like 4 basketball games today. So that people could be excited and watch sports all day. What a weird. Yeah, 4. They got 4 basketball games going on today. NHL comes out the door with 2.
Fuck you, Gary. Oh my God, what an absolute disaster. Every time I see something bad happen in the league, I'm like, what? Which is often, like, we haven't even touched on the Salt Lake City Coyotes. Like, everybody saw this coming. Everybody.
Yes.
And like the playoff schedule, it's just like a complete swing and miss by the league. And I don't know how they consistently get things wrong, but still pat themselves on the back.
You know what? There's no point. Or I was going to say, there's no point like waiting with that natural segue. The Arizona, the Phoenix, whatever you want to refer to them as, Coyotes are essentially deactivated at this point. They've kind of on hiatus for 5 years. It's kind of some pressure on the current owner to get an arena going, to get things actually trending so you can be an actual franchise and not play in some type of little bumfuck arena. And ball's in his court, right? So we'll see if Gary Bettman, this is kind of it. Do or die, right? There's a land acquisition auction in June, and if they fail to get the land for the new arena, we can basically call them a dead franchise at this point, right? And look at kind of what the next iteration of this team in Utah looks like, right?
And this is, that's the fucked up part in all of this is, for all intents and purposes, the Arizona Coyotes franchise still exists, and they have this window where they can still make it work. It was just the players and like the operations that were sold to Salt Lake City. So basically, the owner bought everything but the team name, and now the league is saying, all right, Arizona, here's your opportunity to try and make things work. But at the same time, we're taking all your players. We've already sold them. They're going to this nice white guy in Salt Lake City, and he's going to start a team with everything that you built.
It becomes very yeah, kind of sketchy. I don't know. It seems kind of, and it makes expansion the last couple years look super rushed too and not well thought out. And they're expanding into these other markets when you have like a failing franchise. I don't know. What an absolute just mess and a shit show that's happened. But it's kind of nice to see Gary Bettman backpedaling right now. This was a failure, an absolute failure. What are you going to do about it? Well, you see, getting to watch his like press conferences and just kind of like spin his tires here. That's solid. I mean, if you believe in conspiracies, I've always believed that Gary Bettman actively tries to keep the Stanley Cup out of Canada. Maybe with this distraction in the desert here, like his like a focus on making the referees call the game one way, maybe the mandate will be changed a little bit. Maybe we get a cup in Canada this year.
Oh man, you heard it here first.
Don't pay attention. Don't pay attention to the Coyotes. Look how happy Canada is with their Stanley Cup. Good job. Winnipeg?
Man, I hope it's not Winnipeg. I really hope it's not Winnipeg. But actually, that's kind of the poetic ending that he needs.
Right? Like I'm like, you know, like the Coyotes who were the Winnipeg Jets that were taken from Winnipeg. Now Winnipeg gets a cup and the Coyotes are there. So it's like a double win. I don't know. Could be something there. So what's the future market look like right now? Let's make some bets on our boy Mark Scheifele.
Come on, Mark. The other thing that's lost in all of this, or maybe it's been said, I don't know. I don't really watch mainstream sports anymore, or this mainstream sports programming. Mm-hmm. But let's assume Arizona gets another team. That leaves us the league at 33, which is just a stupid number. 33 teams is just fucking dumb. Mm-hmm. Inevitably, there's going to be a 34th team. Where's that team going?
I think you probably just look at one of those failing markets like Tampa Bay or Florida, and you just move them back to Phoenix. That's the simplest thing. Whatever the next struggling market is, like the lowest attendance, one of those ones that just doesn't really have a fan base independent of on-ice product, you just take one of those terrible markets and you move them to Phoenix, obviously.
Just a constant turn. Where I was going with this, I think that I'm not saying this is going to happen, but with another Western Conference team in Salt Lake City, it only makes sense that it's an Eastern Conference team that they eventually add to make it 34. And I got to think, like, you have to think Quebec City's front and center in that conversation to be like, you now have 33 teams, 17 of which are in the Western Conference. Now you need a 17th team for the Eastern Conference. Does it make more sense to pick Quebec City over a place like Houston or wherever the fuck else Gary Bettman's looking?
Oh, absolutely not. No, not whatsoever. Like, where should this team be in the interim? If they had a facility ready to go that was like above 3,000 people, right? If that's the benchmark for attendance, yeah, you could probably like hammer out like Quebec City in the meantime. But we wouldn't do that. So you're right. Houston is definitely the right answer. So we'll just like shift them over or something. We'll be like, nah, see, they're in the same. They're close to Tampa Bay.
That's, yeah, the classic NFL move. Yeah. Dallas is the northeastern part of the country.
Okay, sure. All right. Well, we got lots of those Houston, LA, or New York rivalries. That big rivalry. We not got to keep those fires stoked. So, yeah, absolute mess. Hate to see a nice guy like Gary Bettman looking kind of like an a-hole, but essentially that's kind of what we're getting here. So,
yep, exactly what was deserved.
Yeah, awesome, cool. So with that though, that's kind of like the black cloud that sat over the end of the postseason. The season was ended. It finished. We're gonna any kind of standout stories that we can't organically touch on by talking about the playoff series. So any of the bottom teams, did anyone do anything that's like didn't make the postseason that needs to be discussed?
Do you want to shit on Pittsburgh for a little bit? I know we've taken some liberties with the Pittsburgh Penguins the last couple of times we recorded, but what an absolute fucking shit show that turned out to be. Yeah. You get like, you basically move on from everything, say, you know, we're basically done. Here's our top scorer. He's going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, Sidney Crosby decides he's going to turn it on, and they come up just short. I don't know if Kyle Dubas doesn't take the brunt of this like he should, because this team with a better scorer, a top scorer, your best goal scorer, probably could have made things a lot more interesting than they did with fucking goddamn Michael Bunting.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that the Gunsel deal was handled, just like kind of the whole Eric Carlson, the contracts that were given out, right? Like Ryan Graves has something like $5 million owed to him for the next couple of years. Any of the acquisitions they made, there was some stat I saw where it was something, I forget the three forwards. There was one of the guys that came from Noel Akari or something like that. One of the guys from Toronto that Dubas signed, and they had something like 3 combined goals all season or something for whatever the $8 million they spent on these 3 forwards. So yeah, clearly building a team through free agency and trades is not Kyle Dubas's strong point, and we've seen that now over his history with the Leafs run, and now kind of what he's done with Pittsburgh. So this will be kind of a make or break season, and we might see the Wonderkin, who almost had the keys to the castle in Toronto, be out of the league, right? Like if he doesn't turn it around and they don't make the postseason, do you not see Kyle Dubas kicked out to the floor and he can go back to the Sioux Greyhounds and run that organization for the rest of his life, kind of thing? Because I think his time as an NHL GM is probably done if he doesn't do something, doesn't make the right moves in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to touch on. Doing the right thing, because this guy just has a terrible track record now. Over the past year in Pittsburgh and even leading up, like there's not a move, granted he drafted well, but there's not a trade that he made that made the Leafs better. And you saw the same thing in Pittsburgh this year where it was just like, come on, man. Like, shipping off Jake Gensel at the trade deadline when you're within striking distance, your team makes it close. Like, you just can't help but think that if things would have just stayed the same, this team would probably be playing in the playoffs.
Well, and it's almost like he just kind of got caught up on that. He needs to make that win, right? We could look back at the Flames Canucks trade, that Elias Lindholm trade. Oh boy, does that not look good. I think Kuzmenko, the top, the struggling forward that the Canucks gave up in that deal, I think he actually finished with a better season than Elias Lindholm. And a first, and a top prospect. That's, I think, the swing you're trying to make with, say, the Gunsel deal. We're getting Bunting. He's essentially a replacement level player. He's just going to fit in no problem. Plus, like that second round pick plus this. That's kind of what he was going for. But like, no, it's just not going to cut it, right? No, it's a little. You should have kept selling, right? If you're going to sell one piece, sell it all. Don't do one thing. Half-assed, whole-ass everything.
Whole ass everything. That's fucking A+ advice. You only hear it here.
There you go. So with that, we're going to, I think, just run through the bracket. So I'll pull up the bracket challenge here, or just the playoffs. We can kind of look at matchups, go through them schedule-wise. Does that make the most sense? I don't know. Would you rather do this? Pull up the games and talk about each one as they come up, or pull up a whole bracket and do kind of a blatant splattering of every round, every series?
Yeah. A bracket makes most sense. We'll check everything off the list that way.
All right, so I'll go back to our bracket. So we'll run through that. We'll kind of give our predictions. Let's do our first rounds. We can do Stanley Cup winners, and then I think, do you want to do like a little bracket challenge? You get a point for being right, point for a number of games or something like that, and we'll like increase it next round. I don't know. Play a game like that.
Hell yeah. Cool.
Awesome. I'm going to find a piece of paper, make some notes, because I can't use anything digital like a Word or an Excel spreadsheet. I must write notes. We'll go through that. We're going to do a little bit, we'll have like a gambling segment. Maybe look at some boobs. Probably a day, so go from there. So we need winners for each series, pick number of games, and we'll do like a Stanley Cup winner, and we'll just see how long that prediction stays on the board. So,
all right, I dig it.
Cool. All right, big G, big M. Let's start in the East, because that's where we want to, and we'll maybe end with something special here in Canada. So we'll start at the top. We'll do Eastern Division. So we've got Florida, who was the division winner, versus the wild card one, which is Tampa Bay. So Florida, Tampa Bay. How do you see or predict this series is going to go?
I don't know if you remember. Well, you know what, as a Leafs fan, you probably have very vivid recollections of how last playoffs went. Mm-hmm. Sergei Bobrovsky came in, I think it was game 3. He came in out. He was not the starting goaltender for the start of the playoffs because he's just lost his touch. And then he finessed the Panthers to the Stanley Cup Finals, and that's when he kind of ran out of steam. Mm-hmm. And when he did, the team just, not that they fell apart, but they just couldn't keep pace with the Golden Knights. if not for Sergei Bobrovsky coming in, stealing that series, and eventually, well, not just that series, the first 3 rounds of playoffs, the Florida Panthers wouldn't have been where they were. And I don't think that he can do that again. I think that Tampa Bay, who's been 12-4-2 over the last month, is just playing better hockey. They've done that. They've got the pedigree. Mm-hmm. I think that this is Tampa Bay's series to lose.
Oh, that's terrible. That's because I'm also leaning heavily with the Tampa Bay Lightnings. That, like Grant said, they have the pedigree, and they have these players we just don't talk about. Braden Point is one of the better forwards in the NHL. He performs in the regular season. He has 50-goal seasons. Braden Point, just not a guy anyone, like, you have to be the uninitiated unless you're a big Tampa Bay fan or whatever. I don't hear his name thrown around with the acclaim that I think it deserves, right? And that's just one piece. No, we're talking about MVP Kucherov, right? We're looking at an old man, gray-bearded Steven Stamkos, right? Victor Hedman's healthy. I think unless Miguel Sergachev is hurt, is that correct? I think he's out for the season, right? So they have like a little bit of injuries on the back end. But like Vasilevsky, guys, I watched him in the playoffs the last couple of years. That guy, when he wants to stop pucks and if he gets going, you can't beat him, right? So I'm betting on the pedigree of Vasilevsky, the fact that we've seen it before, the fact that he wasn't healthy at the start of the year, and they struggled a little bit, but he's got healthy over, the magic or the rabbit of the hat that Bobrovsky pulled out of his butt, right? I'm going to go with a little bit more pedigree in net, and I think, Florida can maybe score a goal here and there. They're physical, but Tampa Bay is also physical too, right? They can throw the bodies down. They can get those timely goals, and I like just going to get in that. So I'm going to say Tampa in 7.
I'm going to do Tampa in 6.
All right. That's a good sign, Florida. Congratulations.
And your 2024 Stanley Cup champion, the
Florida Panthers. All right, awesome. Cool. All right, so let's stay in the same division, stay in the East. We've got the division, the guys from second and third, Boston versus Toronto. They fell out of it. They lost 3-1 to Ottawa on the last day of the series, or last day of the season, to get the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think they were tanking it a little bit. They wanted the Leafs. They thought that was an easier matchup. Probably a good call versus Tampa Bay, right? If we're going to be all things considered in the postseason. Also, I think that moved the Ottawa Senators from the 5th worst record to the 7th worst record. So they lost 2% in the draft lottery. Good job, Ottawa.
And guaranteed themselves not having the top pick overall.
Oh, I was just like, that is just the bat. Like, there's no reason you need to win this game. Of course they're winning this game. Awesome. Great. Cool. Boston, Toronto.
Boston, Toronto. I don't know how you're going to be reconciling this with your emotional involvement with the Maple Leafs. And I definitely don't want to get your hopes up. But Boston is not a good hockey team. And that's going to come off a little fucking... I know that that's not going to land well with many people. If you look at their analytics, middling at best. Over the last month, terrible. They had something like the 5th worst expected goals for rating. As you saw in the series or season finale, they lost to the Senators. And that was that punctuated a string of suboptimal performances. And now here we are in the postseason, and I know the Leafs didn't end on a strong note either. 25 goals against in the last 5 games they played. But I just really think that this is Toronto's series to lose.
There is a lot of smoke in those last 5 games because the team knew they were in 3rd place. They weren't being catched. There was a slim chance you win all 5 and the cards fall right. You get maybe 1st, right? Like that was in the cards. I honestly believe that the team rallied around trying to get Matthews 70 goals. And that was like, you look at the last 2 games, he's putting up 10, 12 shots against Tampa Bay to end the series or the season. They're not caring about what's going on the other end. They're like, we'll figure that out in the postseason. Let's focus on this. It's fun. It's monumental. Let's get this guy that we can rally around this historic event. He fell short, but like, honestly, the best consolation to not getting 70 is getting 69 goals. Hilarious. It's awesome. I was stoked. As soon as he got the 69th goal, I was like, I hope 70 doesn't happen because 69 is the best number. It's actually even better than 70, in my opinion. I love that. That's hilarious. And I'm getting me an Austin Matthews 69 shirt. That might be like a jersey that we have to do. That's great. Hanging out on the wall the rest of my life. I'm a happy little boy. So with that, I also Yeah, I can't see. I know there's this history, there's this lore. People are like, "Oh, Boston Toronto's happened every year. How are you dealing with this?" I'm like, the last time I feel like Patrice Bergeron and like Chara were like the captain and the assistant captain last time we saw him in the postseason. Matthews was like in his second year or something like that, third year in the league. The guy just put up 70 goals, guys. Let's see what this looks like. And I put money on Boston. I'm going to bet every game, but I kind of think the Leafs have this.
All right. Well, another bad sign. We're both on the same page with this. I couldn't agree more about the 69 goals for Austin Matthews.
Like
that's we needed that. That was the universe being like, you know what, Mick and Grant, here you go.
And it's perfect. It was like the perfect. He just doesn't get to 70. You know how much content that they paid writers and producers to make on 70 goals and how historic this is for Matthews, and then it doesn't happen. So to watch the Toronto media just pull their hair out and be like upset that this didn't happen because they were like banking on this, absolutely fucking couldn't have happened in a better way. Love it. I'm going to take Toronto, I think in 6.
Damn it, I had Toronto in 6 too.
That's a terrible sign. So, but I'll be honest with you, my Boston futures looking pretty solid. We could get into. There are some futures too. If you can look at series scoring leaders, I picked up Brad Marchand 13-1 today to lead this series in scoring. So I could see Boston losing and Brad Marchand greasing out 2 to 3 points a night for Boston, right? Being kind of the heart and soul for this forward group. So I don't know. Like that's definitely a series where if you don't love Pasta, you don't love Matthews to being the highest point leaders. Sprinkle some money in there because everyone like Marchand was third at like 13-1. I was like, I'll take it.
That is a good bet to make. I agree. Especially, I don't want to say Matthews disappears in the postseason, but less productive in the postseason.
Oh, he's just going to struggle. Tougher matchup. They're going to be focused in on him. Maybe one of the other guys like Marner Nylander steps up and they kind of take over, right? Which is possible. But like, if Boston is winning, someone's getting some points, right? So
where's Max Domi on that list? I bet you Max Domi has the series. This is kind of like tailor-made for him.
Yeah.
This first round matchup.
Yeah, like Bertuzzi, Domi, Matthews line, like one of those guys just getting that timely goals, something like that, right? We could see someone step up. So definitely worth a check on your sports book today. So moving down to the Metro division from there. We have New York, who is the President's Trophy winner. I saw they end their season with their big +1 goal differential. That's the worst that some President's Trophies winners had in like 10, 20 years. Also, President's Trophy winners usually lose in the first round, so maybe being more like humble. Oh, we'll see where they get. They get the wild card number 2, Washington Capitals. That kind of greased their way into the postseason. They might have been let into the postseason. They were definitely let into the postseason by Philadelphia. And that's your matchup. What's going on with Rangers Capitals?
Oddly enough, I'm glad you touched on this. Oddly enough, the New York Rangers are the second worst analytics team in the playoffs. The only team worse than them is the Washington Capitals. So when you look at like 5-on-5 play, how they got here, really neither team deserved to be here. But the New York Rangers, with Artemi Panarin, Adam Fox, Igor Shesterkin at every level, just have the skilled players to offset those terrible metrics. Mm-hmm. Washington doesn't. Washington doesn't have that. Ovi's kind of past his prime. He's still scoring. God bless his fucking Russian heart. He's not who he used to be. I don't actually know who is scoring for Washington. Like, how did Washington get here? And every sign, everything you look at, as terrible as the Rangers are, and as like pathetic as their analytics look, they're still better than Washington. So like everything and they got better skill players, and you just have to think that this is the Rangers series. And I think that they win, and I think they win in 5 games.
All right, this is starting to get kind of creepy. So I did allude that the Rangers had a +1. Plus they're plus 57 on the season. So I don't know where I was getting that number from. I apologize. And then pulling up the Capitals, minus 37 goals on the season. So you had a minus 37 goal differential, yet you were the 17th overall team just statistically. And yeah, you backed into the postseason. I know there's a President's Trophy curse. It's caught us year after year, and no one ever clues into it. I do think this is probably the one year you're safe, right? Like, statistically, you're just getting the worst team. That's how it's supposed to be. I do think the Rangers advance. I have them in 5, so I don't know where this. I guess that Tampa series is really that decide when Florida wins in 5. I'm like, whatever, we know nothing. Rangers in 5, and then who do they play in the next round? We've got the second, third in Carolina and Islanders. So how do you see that series going?
I know I just shit on it at the start of the show. I think this is probably one of the more entertaining series of the first round. Mm-hmm. Patty Roy has just got this team, the Islanders, just playing this gritty, truculent brand of hockey that always does well in the postseason. But Carolina is also the top analytics team, analytically the best team in the Eastern Conference. So I know that they're favored for a reason. Mm-hmm. But I think the Islanders, in the way that they've played and the way that they've gotten to the 3rd seed in the Metropolitan Division, is just a testament to the turnaround that Patrick Waugh had them on. I think with a full season of Patrick Waugh next year, this is a team with home ice advantage, and I think that's the difference in this series. Mm-hmm. I'm saying Hurricanes in 7.
I'm going to take Hurricanes in 6. Look at that. Our second discrepancy. All right. Maybe we'll get less chalky on the other side of the bracket. So, like I said, we're going to go down. So we're going to get 2. Well, I guess we get 3 Canadian teams. So let's get the one team that doesn't have a Canadian element in it. Dallas, the 1 seed. They were vying right at the end, right up into the very last day, trying to get to that number 1, that President's Trophy. Probably not something you absolutely need, but they are playing the wild card 2, the team that barely backed in. The poor distrodden, they are injured. They barely even made the postseason. Oh man, I feel bad for this poor underdog team, the Vegas Knights. Dallas Vegas Knights. How do we see this series going?
I fucking hate Vegas. We have talked about this on a few occasions. Have you seen some of these memes on the internet about Mark Stone coming in? There's a scene from the original Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Where he limps out and then he does the somersault. Yep. I've seen that plastered across the internet, being like Mark Stone.
Yeah, I saw that like 2 years ago, and then it came out last year again. Is it happening this year as well? That seems
apparently it's resurfacing this year. This is my first time catching it. Huh. Anyways, it's exactly what's happening. All of a sudden, everybody's healthy. I just hate Vegas. I'm taking a principled stand on the Stars. Stars in 5.
Ooh, baby. All right. So for myself, I think somebody that goes through gastrointestinal distress like Mark Stone does, when he's just like mowing down on like rotten cans of old Spam and stuff like that to keep that spleen nice and like injured to the post, that takes dedication like we haven't seen from athletes, right? That's the one thing that's lost in this, is to sit there and just make yourself poop and shit out your guts for like months straight. That does a number on a guy's butthole. And I think that the Captain Butthole Mark Stone, I think he's fine now, guys. He's got all the nice butthole creams on there, and Captain Butthole is actually going to win in 7 against, just to kind of keep that perpetual hate going. So we're going to go Captain Butthole in 7.
What are those shit bags called? When your pooper doesn't work.
A colostomy bag? Yeah.
That's exactly. You see Mark Stone emptying his colostomy bag in Game 6, being like, "This is real, guys.
I'm healthy." All right, so there you go. So I'm gonna do the fade. More of an emotional hedge on that one. Hopefully, and in all fairness, they are like 2 of the best teams in the West here. I'd love to see them, when healthy, go up and have a battle. Like, let's see seven games that are just an absolute slugfest, and take out one of the top guys. So that maybe one of our Canadian brethren have a simpler path, right? Rather than these 2 teams kind of clashing in like the conference championship or something like that. It's kind of nice to see one of these like juggernauts, at least from a Canadian point of view, get knocked out in the first round. So I do appreciate that. Who do we think one of these guys, better teams, probably going to pay? Between the Winnipeg Jets, who finished second, versus the Colorado Avalanche. Mr. I don't ever have to poop because I only eat the exact perfect amount of nutrients ever, Nathan McKinnon. Mr. Virgin Butthole over here. Never pooped.
I got that thing sewed shut years ago, man. I don't need it.
That's not healthy.
I'm going to call Colorado the Boston Bruins of the East. Somehow they have just stumbled to the finish line. And not only that, if you remove their Stanley Cup run, this team is actually like 3-7 over their last 10 playoff series. Granted, I know that doesn't. Yeah. I know that this roster.
Remember that one year they got like swept by the Flames when they were like the 1 seed? No, yeah. No one does. No one ever is like, oh, but Nathan McKinnon, one guy got swept in the. No, he was. Fuck off with the goddamn love for Nathan McKinnon. What an asshole.
Big time dick. And I think this team was eliminated in the first round last year too.
Yeah,
or maybe they made.
No, by Seattle. Yeah. Maybe it was the second round. No, I think it was the first round. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
It would have been. Anyways, so here we are talking about this Colorado team that's favored against the Jets, who have home ice advantage, who've stumbled to the end of the season and have a terrible playoff pedigree.
Yeah.
And they're favored. I can't wrap my head around it. I'm taking Jets. I think Jets do this. I want to say it's going to be easier than not, but I'm going to say Jets in 6.
Cool. All right, I'm going to take the other side of that coin. I like Colorado in 6. I'm just going to fade the Canadian team here for a second, and yeah. I need to have some Canadian team lose in the first round. So Jets, you're my sacrificial lamp. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, that leads us to 2 more exciting Canadian teams.
Hey, we'll start with the division winner of the Pacific, the Vancouver Canucks. They started out hot, and then they just kind of like, I don't know, no one could catch them. That's not really what happened, but basically that's what happened. Playing the extremely red hot. You want to talk about like St. Louis from a couple years ago? This team that looked like they were dead to rights, that just went red hot, had elite goaltending, good defensive play, and then kind of just steamrolled their way to the Stanley Cup. That could be the Nashville Predators. All right.
I was 100% going to evoke emotions of the 2019 St. Louis Blues because it's completely similar. They're similar paths, similar trajectories. How did we get here? It was a terrible 9-2 defeat to the Dallas Stars. It wasn't right after the All-Star break, but after the All-Star break. Following that, they went on some fucking incredible 25-4 run, something like that. Yeah. Like, it's just been a hell of a jaunt up. 7-3, I can't remember. Whatever it is, they've been playing good hockey, and I think that now, I say it every year, I'm going to say it again, a hot goalie carries a team further than they deserve to go in the playoffs. Nashville, UC Saros, this guy doesn't get the love that he deserves. UC Saros led the league in saves. Vancouver short on experience. It's hard for me to think 100% critically of this Vancouver Canucks team because I hate them. I fucking hate them so much.
Yep.
Like, if I would run over Matt Sundin with my car again if I had the chance, that's how much I hate this team. Anyways, I'm saying Preds in 6.
Like Matt Sundin, he played there for like 10 games. Like that's the memory of Matt Sundin. He's like, fuck that guy. He played there one time. I hate him.
He almost helped this team win a game.
That's fair.
Once.
And sorry, you said Nashville?
Nashville in 6.
All right. I have Canucks in 7. So. All right. So a little discrepancy. Okay, we got there. A little discrepancy. Yeah, for myself, I think it's going to be a long series. Definitely Vancouver's been playing some good hockey. We could argue if you kind of look on paper, games aren't played on paper, unfortunately. They're played on by the little men on our televisions or big men, depending how big your TV is. I don't want to flex, but sometimes they're pretty big. And especially those close-ups. Oh, man, their faces are ginormous. Austin Matthews' forehead some days takes over my whole basement. It's amazing. I do like that they do have that pedigree, and I don't know. We'll see. Was Nashville hot right down up to the end of the stretch? I don't know. I kind of like when those teams have to grease in a win. It's like last day, last goal, overtime or something like that. You make it. I think that is a little more momentum. So that is why I'm going to go Vancouver. And yeah, Nashville is playing pretty well, but I don't know. We'll see if number one center Ryan O'Reilly, who could barely skate for the Leafs last year. There's no way you're winning a series by yourself, dude. Come on, give me a break. If he puts up 15 goals in this first round, I'll be so upset.
He might, yeah. Ryan O'Reilly, we'll see. Things didn't go well with him in Leafs land, but
No.
the opportunity has passed. I'm still going to make this joke, though. I was going to comment on the natural light that you have in your basement, and then just have you point to, oh, it's actually just the reflection off Austin Matthews' forehead on my TV.
Yeah.
But,
we'll take it. 69 goals. It doesn't matter how big your forehead is, buddy. I still love you. So, and then finally, we're going to end with a team that everybody loves. This matchup, guys. We can't get enough of it. Was this 3 years in a row? 4 years in a row? Oh, baby. You got the Oilers second versus the Kings at third. How different is it going to be this year that Cal Pettersson is the number one goalie for the Kings?
This betting line caught me off guard, to be honest, because Edmonton was substantially favored. I was like, do we not remember how this played out last year? Because it was not as easy as everybody thought it was. This was probably, if not for Jack Campbell stepping up, the Oilers would have been eliminated. And guess what? The Oilers can't even rely on Jack Campbell now because he's keeping things afloat in Bakersfield. So, Stuart Skinner. I'm not saying it comes down to him or not. But Connor McDavid missed, a few games towards the end of the year. Not that he didn't look like himself, but you can never be too sure with injuries. Like, how is he operating at maximum efficiency? It definitely didn't look like it.
When the Connor McDavid killer Philip Deneau is on the other side of the ice, if McDavid is not at 100%, he's going to be hindered. He's going to be annoyed. He's going to be pestered. It's going to come down to those secondary elements of this Oilers team, right? And hopefully, McDavid taking that step back, he comes in close to healthy, right?
Best case scenario, close to healthy. The one thing, Philip Deneau absolutely has McDavid's number. I am interested to see how Corey Perry plays in the postseason. I think that's probably, as an Oilers fan, what I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
Stuart Skinner has to be better than he was last year, without question. But, Corey Perry is the prototypical playoff jerk. That's who you fucking hate playing against.
Yeah. You know who I'm excited not to see in the first round of the postseason this year? Corey Perry. God damn, that guy was getting on my nerves.
So, it's nice. One of those things, you're glad when he's on your team, because I fucking hated Corey Perry, too. Anyways, and then he was also part of that Cavs team that made a run to the Stanley Cup final. I'm not saying Corey Perry's the X factor, but he has to be that agitating pest who can also score if the Oilers have a chance.
Late in the third period, you hit that 10-minute mark, you put Corey Perry on the ice. He's an opportunist. He finds his moments and he flashes, and if he's playing on your second, third, fourth line against some other grease balls, he's definitely greasing out a goal here or there, right? Or hitting somebody, making some type of controversial hit, right? Changing the flow. So big time call. Him coming into the Oilers locker room should, I don't know, might be that, again, that might be the difference maker. I think that's all you need is one or two guys to step up, maybe one guy for the Oilers to probably win this. I'm going to say Oilers in 6.
I'm going Oilers in 7.
All right.
And one thing we don't talk about this enough is Leon Draisaitl in the postseason. This guy always reserves his best games, his best performances for the playoffs. Not that Connor McDavid disappears. He is much less effective. He faces tighter checking. He just doesn't shine as brightly in the playoffs. And that's fine. But I think it's time everybody gives Leon Draisaitl the love that he deserves, because he is going to be, once again, I think, the driving force in Edmonton's playoff.
Awesome.
Playoff push.
Super solid. So that is our predictions, our picks for all of the playoff series. We'll do kind of like a point. Lots of brackets. We'll do 10 points and 2 points in the second round. Just drop to 0. I think we'll just do that. So we'll keep track. So if you get the number of games right, that's 1 point. Getting the series right, that's another point. And then we'll reset for the second round. Kind of keep track of how we're doing. And then we'll pick a Stanley Cup champion.
I dig it.
So do you have a Stanley Cup? Who's your pick? Do you want to hold off to the end of the show?
Oh, I see. Okay. So the way I see 4 teams in the conference finals. I know, fucking shocking. 4 teams are going to make it.
Wow. Huh.
I honestly think, so deep down, I have been rooting for this. I probably even talked about it on the posts or on the podcast in the past. I think that when the Stanley Cup eventually comes back to Canada, it's not going to be a matter of if it does, it's going to be which team. And by that, I mean it's going to be an all-Canadian Stanley Cup final where two teams just fucking slug it out. I just don't think it's this year. I want it to be this year, but I just don't think it is. I have Edmonton going to the conference finals. I have Toronto going to the conference finals, and I have them playing the Dallas Stars and Carolina Hurricanes. I think it's a Stars Hurricanes Stanley Cup final, and I think it's Carolina's. This is Carolina's year. We've already oh no. We've talked about it year after year at the start of every season. We're like, man, Carolina looks good again this year. I think this is the year it all comes together.
Hilarious. Do I have any notes or mention anywhere of like future picks? Because that I was like, I also was probably just gonna put. I would take a stab at Carolina right now. I like them. I do say that we kind of let's. If we want to keep it next round, let's keep it. If something changes, you watch Carolina play and you're like, nah, they're missing something, an injury. We're allowed to change our picks up until the finals. So I'll give us both a Carolina. And, maybe one of us wants to change it. And there'll be some incentive to keep it the way it is, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cool. Awesome. That's our picks. Predictions, I'll keep them on a piece of paper on my desk here, and we'll keep tabs on that. So that is kind of our Stanley Cup preview. Anything we missed?
I don't think so. I think we got touched on everything that needed to be touched on.
Cool, sweet. Do you want to look at some gambling?
A little Bettor Advice segment? Hell yeah.
Let's do a Bettor Advice. We're here. There's games every day that we're playing, right? So more than likely we'll be able to pull some lines out. We ended the season... I ended up with about $194. You ended up with about $280. So all said and done there. We're up a little bit, plus 200, plus 2-1 kind of thing. Doubled up most of our money. I did have a future bet on McDavid. I think it was $100 on McDavid winning the Hart. So I think literally it was like 100 to win 100 kind of thing. So I don't think that's going to happen, but I do have that future bet out there. I, at this point, don't think that's going to happen. So let's start fresh in the postseason. We'll take 100 theoretical dollars every week. We'll gamble it on the lines that are available at the time. And we'll keep tabs on how we do over the upcoming weeks.
I dig it.
Cool. What you got?
I got 3 plays. What do you got?
Nothing. I didn't get this far in my prep work, so I'm going to do it live on the podcast while you're talking.
All right. I have 3 series opening games that I would like to bet. All of them are just straight bets. We're going to go $35 on the Winnipeg Jets winning game 1 against the Colorado Avalanche. I think they're minus 110, minus 115, so close to pick 'em, if not slightly favored, depending on where you're shopping. Like I mentioned, I don't think that I think Colorado is being overvaluated based off of recent performances and where they're going and their terrible track record. So with that, I'm taking a firm stance on the Jets, and that starts in game 1, Connor Hellebuck. I was debating taking Colorado to not score, but it seems a little risky. $35 Jets to win, minus 114.
Minus 114 Jets. Okay, awesome. $30. For myself, I'm going to just throw it out there. Emotional hedge. I'm even trying to tempt the hockey gods today. So when they look down upon me and they say I'm a little Bruins fan, we're going to spite that guy. Just really trying to go for the old mindfuck here. So I'm going to go $50 emotional hedge on the Boston Bruins at basically like minus 130 or something like that. I have one of those like stupid scoring systems on this app right now. 1.71. I don't know what that means. So I'm going to do 50 to win 85.50. So about $35.
Yeah, that's minus 140 or so. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I respect the hell that the emotional hedge came out. Really wasn't expecting it, so that's awesome. Next play.
You weren't expecting it. That's like all I do.
Well, when it didn't come out in the postseason talk, I was like, oh, this is a fucking new improved version of Mick. But no, here he is. Still
greasy as shady as ever. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, second pick. Vancouver. I think the moment is too big for Vancouver. We've seen the Predators play decent hockey over the last little while, and I think Vancouver is going to learn some tough lessons in the postseason. I don't think Thatcher Demko is 100%. Predators, if they're going to win the series, they're going to need to take at least one game on the road. I'm betting that game is game one, and I'm backing them with $30 at plus 125.
Awesome. So Nashville at 30. And plus 115. Okay. And for myself, my second one, I'm going to do a parlay of just some games for tomorrow. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay Road Dogs. I think they could probably, again, I'm going to take a road dog upsetting Florida in the first round. And then I'm going to go with the favor. So just going to go chalky on that afternoon game with the Rangers. So I'm going to go Tampa Rangers parlay, $50 to win $160.
Ooh, I like it. And you stole my third play, which was the Tampa Bay Lightning. I also like them as plus money underdogs tomorrow. Like I said, Sergei Bobrovsky. So Florida was not as good. I know this fucking sounds cheeky. Florida was not as good as the Eastern Conference champions typically should be. I know that's rich because we've had the Montreal Canadiens recently turn in an Eastern Conference championship performance. But unbecoming of championships Eastern Conference champions, I don't think that they can do it twice in a row. And I really think that Tampa Bay has the better of them in the series. So I think that starts with a Tampa win in game one.
Awesome. 30 plus 130 equals, what's that, 69? Nice. That one is 50 or 60. Okay. And your final $10? How's that being spent?
Oh. Yeah, I definitely. So the first one was supposed to be 35.
Okay.
Now, you know what? We'll just make the first one 40. We'll make Jets 40.
Okay. Jets 40. That works. Jets 40. Cool. Your 3 plays, my 3 plays. That makes a big difference there. Me too. 80. Awesome. Cool. So that is our picks, gambling advice, previews. Made fun of Gary Bettman. That seems like a pretty good podcast.
Yeah, efficient. We managed to shit on everybody who deserved to be shit on.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe next week we'll be back when there's less to talk about. We can kind of talk about individual series, what we're liking, what we're seeing. Less predictive talk, kind of more of an analytic talk. So maybe we'll do like a puck doku or something like that. That day. For today, though, I think we just end with a little babe of the week and get out of here.
That's it. The Canada Puck Podcast would not be the Canada Puck Podcast without our babe of the week. My phone's dead. It's over there. I shouldn't say it's dead. It's charging away from me, but I remember who this babe is because I spent a lot of time gawking at her. Her name is Fanny Gaspirik. You read the name. G Fanny, so just GG, the 2 letters, Fanni, Ottawa professional hockey player in the PWHL, Hungarian, and baby, she's got me hungry because I want more of everything Fanny has to offer.
Fanny Garet Gaspirik.
There you go. That's it.
I don't know if Garat is right, but Gaspirik, I'm probably pretty correct on that one. So Sammy Gaspirik. Lovely.
GG Fanny, you are our babe of the week.
Schwing. Excellent. Awesome. Cool. So with that, good luck. Don't love that all of our predictions are close to each other. It's probably a bad sign. So
I'm glad we diverged in the Western Conference. We're going to be pissed off at each other because basically the opposite of exactly what we said is going to happen in the Eastern Conference. But one of us gets to boast about being right in basically every one of the other series because other than the Oilers, we're separated on the 3 other Western Conference ones.
Awesome. That's all right. That's good. Little bit of content going there. Good stuff. So I don't know when we'll be back. We'll talk. We'll see what this week looks like. Maybe next Saturday. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how maybe there's something. Maybe Corey Perry accidentally takes somebody's head off again, and it just absolutely warrants talking about. We'll see how the week.
Yeah, and if you need a shoulder to cry on or console you if the things start going bad in the series, I'm here, and I kind of hope you give me the same offer. And I think we'll just play it by ear. We might drop a pod middle of the week. If something happens, something cool happens, maybe post game or something like that. Maybe we'll even go grab a beer one night and we could talk about that afterwards. So
now you're speaking my language.
There we go. So with that, I think we'll see you guys. Plan to see you guys maybe next Saturday. Saturday's work.
Saturday's good, especially in the postseason.
Yeah, awesome, cool. So with that, I think we say, is that everything? Party on, Grant.
Party on, Mick. We'll see everybody next week.